Welcome to this week's episode of The Next Chapter. What's the show about? It's about all things concerning the written word. I talk to publishers, authors, other types of writers, even editors and publicists to inform everyone about what's going on in the world of the written word. I'm your host, Fred Hughes, Amazon bestselling author, and Biz TV, who is gracious enough to let me do this show so that I can inform people about what's going on. And I want everyone to check out the Biz TV YouTube channel. You can find my videos on there, as well as videos from a variety of other sources, a lot of economic videos on there. So if you want to understand how to invest your money better, there's a ton of shows on there. So like and subscribe to Biz TV, like my show, so I can continue bringing you content like this. As you probably noticed, the format of this show and the last show and future shows have changed a little bit. I'm recording these remotely, primarily because what a lot of you don't know is that there are a lot of authors that you read and follow who are not full-time authors. So surprisingly enough, when I recorded these shows during the day in the studio, I quickly started running short of authors who could appear on the show during the day. So I chose to switch and start recording these at night. The next episode that comes out is one with Dr. Robert Hampson that I did live at Pecan. Saying I did it live isn't entirely correct. The show was recorded at Pecan, but we did do it in front of a live audience, and the entire show is me talking to Robert Hampson. And as a part of that, we took questions from the audience that was watching me interview him. So very interesting. First time I did that. So excuse some of the flaws in that video. Hopefully this one's a little better. Today I'll be talking to an author friend of mine, Alex Rath, who's written several, he's actually, when I started reviewing his credits, he's actually written more than I have. He has I think around 25 credits to his name. Lots of novels, actually 3 different trilogies that he's written himself, and involved in numerous short stories that are included in an anthology. And he'll be joining us in the next segment. But I wanted Alex, like a lot of other authors, has to work a full-time job in order to write. In some cases, that's because they're not making enough money yet as an author. They haven't become well known. In a lot of cases, it's because in our current economic situation, they need health insurance. So they work a full-time job so they can participate in their company's health insurance program, so that they can, so that they have health insurance, so that their family has health insurance. Fortunately for me, I don't have to do that. Many of you know I'm a retired Navy guy, so thanks to you taxpayers, I have really good medical, so I don't have to worry about working to have medical coverage. But go to Biz TV. Like and subscribe the channel. Now on to some of my shameless plugs. The first book in my newest series, Heroes Legacy. It's book 1 of the Heroes of Britannia, just came out recently, doing pretty well. Lots of fans have been waiting for this book because it carries on the story from my previous series, which was the 9-book series, Prince of Britannia. And it basically follows the events of book 9 of that series, which is Prince Imperador, and a continuation of the empire, of what's happening in the Empire of Britannia. I'm pretty proud of it. It's doing well on Amazon. You can find it there. Also of note is the fact that I have a new audio book out. Prince Conqueror, which is book 7 in the Prince Britannia series, is now out on Audible. The Audible books have lagged behind the written ones a little bit for a variety of reasons. Also, this book is narrated by Michael Joss, as was the previous book. That's a different narrator than originally narrated the stories. There were some contractual issues with getting the Audible books done. I won't go into detail about that. But because of that, we had to switch narrators. And I had a choice of waiting for the original narrator, John Perala, who was awesome. But he wasn't going to be available because he is awesome. He's in demand, and he wasn't going to be available to continue doing the books till middle of next year. And I didn't want to wait for people. Slide popped up. Here's the Pecan slide. I was talking about interviewing Rob Hampson. I was a guest at the Pecan convention last week and had a great time, interacted with a lot of authors. If you can make it to the Dallas-Fort Worth area, toward the end of September next year, put it on your schedule to come and visit Dallas-Fort Worth and attend the Pecan Convention. Crystal Gale Shue, who's been a guest on the show, announced that next year's guest of honor is David Weber. So if you like military science fiction, actually, if you like science fiction at all, you've heard of David Weber. He's written, I don't know how many books, how many series, and he's awesome. And he's going to be there as the guest of honor talking about his books. And because David's there as such a big name, though, I'm sure there will be a ton of other authors, well-known authors, that are going to attend because David's there. Don't know if I fall into that category, but I'll be back again. I consider Pecan my home convention. Moving forward, going back to authors and how they make a living. I know a lot of you fans sometimes get frustrated because your favorite authors don't get books out very fast. I get a book out about every 3 months, and that's I could actually do it faster, but I purposely stay on a 3-month schedule for my main series because it gives me the opportunity to write books and write other stuff, short stories for anthologies, work on some side projects for starting new series, etc. So, but like I said, a lot of these authors are working full time and they're trying to squeeze writing into their work day. So they basically do an 8, 9, 10-hour workday, and then they come home and they're still family people. So they have to interact with their wife and their kids and run kids to, soccer and football games and things like that, and participate in other family activities. And on top of that, they have to squeeze in writing. So many of them are not going to get books out in as frequently as you'd like, or you'll see what the current, standard in the industry is. An author will take a year or maybe a year and a half to write 3 books in a row, get 3 books ready in a new series or an existing series, and then they will rapid release the books. They'll release the books a month at a time or 6 weeks at a time, and get 3 books out, bam, bam, bam. And then you won't hear from them again for another year as they write the next 3 books. So either way, it can be frustrating for you, but understand that authors have lives and they are doing the best they can. And the best way you can help as fans is to buy their books and leave reviews, because reviews are a big deal, because the more reviews an author has, the more it encourages other people to buy the book. So that's it for this segment. Coming up next will be Alex Rath, and we're going to talk about a lot of things, including mental health. See you after the break. And thanks for coming back to watch us. As advertised, I'm joined by my friend Alex Rath. I know we first met probably on a Zoom call. The CKP, Chris Kennedy Publishing, Saturday night Zoom call. Alex used to be a frequent participant. He's dropped off a little bit. I'm sort of getting to that point, to be honest. But I still enjoy mingling and talking to authors, especially when we talk about the business side of being an author. And then we were connected in person the first time at Superstars 2 years ago. I'm walking out of the Antlers Hotel in Colorado Springs, and there's this sort of homeless looking guy out smoking a cigarette. And I'm going, I think that's Alex Rath. And I went over there and introduced myself. And sure enough, he was being all bundled up and everything, because we were in Colorado in February.
Yeah, and I'm a Southern boy, so.
Yeah, and both freezing our asses off. And I was looking for some place to smoke a cigar. So, and then we reconnected several times there and that. And then we had several long discussions, and that was in 2023. And this year, 2024, we had several long discussions. So welcome to the show, Alex. When I was setting up and getting things together for the show, I was looking at all your credits and everything, and made me feel like a slacker. I mean, what, you've got 25 credits to your name now, I think, between anthologies you're in and different books that you've written.
There's a few things out there.
Yeah. So how did Alex Rath start down the author path?
So I was sitting in a bar, which is pretty much how all author stories start.
Yeah.
No, I had met Chris Kennedy a few times, actually, through actually, funnily enough, through a mutual acquaintance, David Weber. I actually met him at Honorverse. The last year Honorverse happened. Chris was just spinning up the Four Horsemen universe.
What was that? Was that like 2017, 2018?
I want to say 18.
Okay.
And he had just started the Four Horsemen universe with Mark Wandry. And I walked up and introduced myself to Chris. I had read a lot of his previous stuff. Loved it. I actually messaged him once. I said, I hope you don't mind me saying this work reminds me a lot of Tom Clancy. He's like, no, I don't mind at all. So I read the starting books of the Four Horsemen universe, and I read the Golden Horde. And the Golden Horde and the Four Horsemen universe are the Intel experts. They're the computer experts. Now, I've been in IT for a little over 30 years. I've worked for AOL, TD Bank. I've worked for the big companies. So I looked at the computer stuff. I was like, that's a pretty cool idea. So I'm sitting at a bar one night and I pull out my phone and I messaged him on Facebook. And I said, hey, Chris, I just had this idea. Maybe if you're going to do another anthology soon, maybe a short story, if I could write in the Golden Horde, maybe do like a focus on the computer stuff, the tech stuff. And he messaged me back in about 5 minutes and said, well, we're not really doing an anthology anytime again soon. Would you like to write a novel?
Well, at least you wasn't asking for a trilogy right off the bat.
Yeah, we'll get there. And I just kind of looked at my phone and I looked at my friends. I was sitting around. And I looked at my phone. I said, huh? I literally typed, huh? And he said, tell you what, I'll write it with you. I said, okay.
And that would have been.
That would have been with your shield. Over on the My Books page, probably.
The Four Horsemen.
Yep. With Your Shield, written
There
with
we
Chris
go.
Kennedy, my first book. That's where I came up with the character Spartan. And there was a lot of stops and starts, I will tell you.
Oh, I understand. I mean, I've been there, done that.
You know, and I'm trading the manuscript back and forth. And I will also say that this is kind of a tough part because this is also about 3 months before I quit drinking. Permanent.
Okay.
I couldn't write a book because I was treating depression basically.
Understand. Right. Been there.
So I quit drinking and I took a few months off and I reached back out to Chris and said, hey, can I still do this? This was like 5 months later. He hadn't heard a word from me. He's like, I figured maybe you just, gave up because, first novel. I'm sure I wouldn't have been the first novelist to start a novel and say, yeah, never mind. But I really wanted to do it. And I reached out and said, hey, can I still do this? He's like, yeah, absolutely. So I pulled up all the crap I'd written before. I read it. I hit Control A and I hit delete and I started again.
Isn't it amazing what 5 months will do to your, how you see things?
I mean, I spent 30 days in rehab. Not something I used to talk about much. I used to be kind of ashamed of it. But I mean, it was a.
There was a reason.
It was a Monday afternoon. I had just found out that my daughter made her first gymnastics team. And I read the letter and I started crying. And I worked for TD Bank at the time. They had a 1-800 number, like anonymous get help kind of thing. I called it. I said, I need help. And they said, what do you need? And I told them. And they said, all right, we'll have you on a plane tomorrow morning. I said, no, now. If we wait till tomorrow, I won't do it. They had me on a flight in 2 hours to Florida. So I flew from South Carolina to Florida, stayed there for 30 days. I came back. I've fallen off once since then for one night. Otherwise, totally clean for 6 years now.
Outstanding.
Which is why I'm the guy with the Mountain Dew or the Diet Coke. And there are plenty of writers around me who know and will give anybody hell who gives me a hard time about it.
And rather famous people. I mean, well known in the business. I know the people you hang around with, Alex. So, and we'll name drop in the next segment. But
yeah, I've been accused of hoarding people's time when I'm actually not. But yeah, that's
no.
But I mean,
you're not hoarding their time when they're freely giving it.
I mean, these are my friends now. I mean, that's just the way it is. But no, we finished with Your Shield, which did fairly well. In fact, another author, Mark Stallings, tells me that Spartan is his favorite character in the Four Horsemen universe.
That's pretty cool.
And I think the Four Horsemen universe is over 80, maybe 90 books now.
Chris, I think, is shooting for an even 100, but
yeah,
we'll see. The enthusiasm for it's waned a little bit, so he's not. He wants to close some story arcs now. At least that's what he's sharing with me.
It needs to be done. We had an amazing run with the series. Let me tell you, the fans we have for this series, we have an international.
I know.
International fan club. I mean,
Let's come back to that. I got to stop here so that we can pay some bills, and we'll pick up with that right after the break. This is Fred Hughes, and it's the next chapter. Thanks for coming back to us. We're talking to Alex Rath, and he was telling us about his adventure in getting his first Four Horsemen universe novel written with Chris Kennedy. And then he went on to write a few more.
Yep.
We'll go back.
We were at the first convention for the Four Horsemen universe, well, Fantasy. And which is kind of it became kind of an Honorverse Four Horsemen universe con. And we were there, and With Your Shield had come out. We had done okay. And I wasn't sure if that was the only book I'd ever write or what. So I'm standing around talking to, I think I was chatting with Marisa and Casey. And Chris just walks by and looks at me and says, "Where's the next book?" So I looked at him and said, "I guess I'm writing another book."
Well, so that was back when he was trying, I think he was trying to get a book a month out on the Four Horsemen, I think. But
yeah. Which he may have regretted since then. I don't know. But yeah, so then I did Spartan Specialists, which did really well. One of the funny / insane things about that one was, so as most of Chris's books, it launched on a Friday.
Right.
That particular Friday happened to be the Friday of Dragon Con. And I wasn't going to go. I had no plans to go. But I suddenly decided I wanted to go on a Wednesday, and I chatted with my wife, Jennifer, and she said, "Yeah, go." So I got a hotel, got tickets, drove down. Well, they had about 4 hours for me. Got in, I texted Chris, said, "Hey, Chris, I decided to come. I'm here." Chris texted me back, "Hey, great, you're on a panel at 2. Be here." So I sat on a panel at Dragon Con, first time I ever went, within about 7 hours of getting there. The Four Horsemen panel.
Right.
That Friday, so we talked, and there's a picture of that somewhere floating around.
I think I've seen it. I know. I think you and Wandry, and I think Ike was on that panel.
Ike was there. Yep. Oz was there.
A whole bunch of people that really got their start writing 4HU books.
Yeah. And with some of some of the fans behind us holding up the Mercenary Guild flag.
Yeah.
That was one of the first panels I ever sat on was Dragon Con.
It's funny you say that because, I just went to PCon here in Dallas-Fort Worth, and there was actually a 4HU Guild fan table that got set up. There were 2 people that came in, and they weren't even local. They came all the way from Northern Virginia to set the panel up. Now, they were also, I found out talking to them that they also are RMN, Royal Manticoran Navy.
There's a lot of crossover there.
A lot of fans that are fans of one are also fans of the other. So they have 2 tables.
I'm a Marine lieutenant in the Royal Manticoran.
Well, I joined a long time ago when I was just a fanboy. I'm probably some mess specialist somewhere on some ship. I don't know.
I took enough tests. They finally bumped me up to lieutenant. So
So I have too much to do to get too involved in that. So anymore. So
well, since I started writing,
yeah. I mean, I don't have enough time to do all my own stuff and promote my own stuff. I'm not promoting David's stuff for free.
I mean, David's a great guy and all.
Oh, he is.
And I will tell you, he is mean on the grill.
Yeah. Well, you're right there. You live not far from him. So
he lives about an hour up the road from me.
So you finished, so you ended up finishing 3 books. Now, did that close the story arc for Spartan, or is there still stories for Spartan?
No, Spartan's done.
Spartan's done.
Chris used Spartan in a novel he did with Mark. I think it was Eye of the Storm. And some rough things happened to Spartan. And I discussed with a few people ways to bring him back if I wanted to, but honestly, with all the projects on my plate, the time just wasn't there.
So what was next after, you basically
And so,
got started?
so the next thing was the only open call I've ever done. There was this new universe starting up called, let's see, now I'm talking and I can't remember. Fallen World. Christopher Woods started that up.
Okay.
And they did an anthology. And I said, hey, that sounds pretty cool. Post-apocalyptic.
Right.
Chris Woods had done a book, and then Chris Kennedy did a book, and I read them both. I'm like, I could write in this. This could be fun. So I wrote a story called Mr. Smith Goes to Toronto.
I did not realize that you were the creator of Mr. Smith.
Yes.
We talk about him all the time in both the Zoom call and in the
really?
AP author chat room. It's like, be quiet or Mr. Smith will come and get you.
Smith became quite a character. And once again, it's just something I threw up one day. I actually wrote that. I think it was a, I don't know, 8,000 word story. I wrote it in a weekend. And I sent it in, and it ended up being the centerpiece in the anthology. And then I got the inevitable, where's the book?
There, and here it is. Call me Mr. Smith.
Yeah. I had to stick with it. And I actually did that because of the name of Chris's book, Don't Call Me Ishmael.
That's right.
So I did Call Me Mr. Smith. And that's all he is ever known as in the book. I know what his name is. No one else does.
There you go. That's one of those things that you just sort of have to hold on to.
Yeah. And that'll stay with me forever, I think. I don't think his name will ever come out. But yeah, it was, I don't know, fun writing an assassin, I guess.
So,
I got to learn some interesting things, like how much syntax it takes to blow through the wall of a nuclear reactor.
Did some experiments on that? Did you?
Well, while I was at a convention one time, I ran into a guy that was an explosives expert for the Army. So we had a chat.
There you go. Nothing like research. So
we all know we're on watch lists. They just look
after my last indie series. Oh yeah, I'm definitely on the watch list.
Writing an assassin probably got me there.
So somewhere along the line, I wanted to, right here, I got on where I got sharing now. Call me Mr. Smith. There's the Seeds of Terra.
Seeds of Terra, man.
This is, I know you love this series.
I do.
I like it. And you and I have discussed, this series, and it just never seemed like it got any traction.
It didn't. I did 3 books, and I guess it's pretty much done.
Is it done, though? Is the story done, or are you done writing it?
No, there was a lot more story to tell.
Well,
it's unfortunately one of those things that the numbers just aren't there, kind of thing. I've still got some things in the back of my head, some possibilities. We did one thing I did do is, and it's something that we kind of talked about this year at Superstars, is I wrote a novella specifically for this universe. That's kind of an intro that happens before Seeds of Terra. And once again, sitting at a bar, drinking a Diet Coke this time, chatting about the novella I was writing with a gentleman we both know named Chuck Gannon.
Oh yeah, Mr. Gannon, Dr. Gannon.
And Chuck looks at me and says, "Would it help if I wrote a forward?" And I'm thinking, does it help if a car has an engine? So Chuck actually wrote the forward for that. And it's out. It's available to newsletter subscribers, totally free download. So yeah, that's out there, and that's, that's still there. I haven't given up on it.
If there's, there's always opportunities, and it sort of falls into what we'll talk about in the next segment. A project, a project that people don't know about that you and I are working on together.
Yeah.
And when we discussed you writing in my universe or writing a story with me in my universe, and I'm not saying, hey, you wordsmith wise are probably a better author than I am. You're probably a way better author than I am. I, like the blind squirrel, I stumbled onto a pretty good story idea, and I consider myself a pretty good storyteller. So,
well, you were. I love this series. I love it.
So who knows? Maybe we can turn around and jumpstart Terran with what's coming up. So when we come back from the break, we've given all you folks out there a little teaser that Alex and I are working on a project, and we'll talk about it in the next segment. I'm Fred Hughes, and this is the next chapter. And we're back with Alex, and we teased it in the last section. Alex and I are working on a book together in the Britannia universe, in the Prince of Britannia universe. And this came about from a discussion we had in the at BarCon at the Superstars this past year. And I said, and I had mentioned, I said, well, you told Alex that I was looking and recruiting at the time select authors to write in my universe. I'm just not opening it up for anyone. And I'm going, you write really well. And I sort of gave Alex carte blanche, take a look at the universe and see if there's something you want to write about. And he came back and he wants to write about one of the, I'll use the word quirky characters in the universe.
Pretty well.
I do pretty well. So tell us about what you're, tell us about the adventure that you started on working with me. And I haven't even really done anything yet. Alex is putting it together.
So are we telling him who I'm writing about?
Sure.
So we're gonna look at a little bit of the past of Daryl Snake Atwater. With the stuff I've written in the past, writing an intelligence person just felt right. Felt like it was time to do another intelligence story.
Well, it's sort of, and he does have some similarities a little bit to Mr. Smith.
I can give him a little bit of Smith. The Raven is much more really Mr. Smith. I can use a little bit of Smith in him, probably. The readers who know Smith will see a little bit of Smith in this character, for sure.
There you go. And it's all right, to make him a little hard, because he's a little more, and when I write him in the universe, he's a little older and a little more polished. So
yeah. Oh, I think you've seen about this much of what I've done. Yeah. And he might be a little rougher with people than maybe what people have read. Because as you said, he is younger. Some other characters might show up here and there. But yeah, he's going to be the focus. And we're going to go on a little adventure with Snake. Probably find out where the nickname come from.
Yep. I was hoping you would include that.
I've already got it figured out. And you've actually already seen where it starts.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're going to finally find out where he got the nickname Snake. And that's the first thing when I was thinking about who I was going to write in your universe. I was like, or what I was going to do. I was like, okay, I got to do Snake. And I got to tell the story of why he got the nickname, because I know everyone who read the books wants to know.
And it's weird because when I gave him that nickname, it
was just one of those things.
Well, no, there was a reason. I came from the military, and between being in the military and reading an awful lot of military sci-fi and military fiction,
Mhm.
combat troops often refer to spies / intelligence folks as snakes.
Oh, yeah.
So hence that's the reason why I gave him that nickname.
I'm going to get a lot more specific.
So don't know when. Neither one of us are anywhere close to projecting when this is going to be out. It's probably I would think sometime next year, but
Yeah.
be on the lookout. And all of you know me, I'll be hawking the shit out of it. So because that's what I do. And it's one of the reasons why I'm co-writing with Alex. I mean, and there's two reasons really. I have a ton of stories. There are a ton of characters. There are a ton of stories that I want to tell in the universe. And I'm only one person. And as fast as I write, because I get 5 or 6 novels a year out, I can't tell them all. And oh, by the way, I have other stories that I want to tell. So, and I also want to, if you go back and look at authors, and our friend Chuck Gannon is a perfect example of how he offered to write the forward in your novella, and he's co-written with some people, and he's been involved with anthologies, and there are other people like that, Catherine Kurtz, some of the greats, Catherine Kurtz, co-wrote with a ton of people to jumpstart their careers. And that's the reason why she did it. She was an established author. She didn't need to co-write with anybody, but she did it to help other authors out. And I have, in this situation, I wanted to lend my support and my fan backing to this project. So to, expand Alex's horizons. So he can go back and finish writing the great series Terran Project. And really, I'm being selfish about this. So, because I want him to write more stories in that universe and even help him write stories in it. So, but we're going to get it out, and who knows, there might be more snake novels, or maybe this is a standalone, whatever, but I'm excited about doing it with him. So that's sometime next year. What else I know you're also writing some Car Wars stuff with Three Ravens Press.
Yes. And that actually happened at Superstars in 2023. Hillbilly came up to me and said, "You play Car Wars, right?" I'm like, "Yeah." And he said, "We're doing a series." I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Send me a pitch." Now, I've never written, I don't write outlines. I don't do pitches.
No.
But I did. For this, I did.
Okay.
You can write Car Wars universe? Come on. I played Car Wars in the 80s, man. So I sent it over. Steve Jackson apparently looked at it and liked it. And now I'm writing a trilogy.
So you've got one book in the can now, and you're
one book's in the can. It's already in Hillbilly's hands. Probably waiting for Steve to look over it, and then the Word Witch will go over it. Book 2 is, I'll say 30%. So that's coming along well. I know where that series is going to go. So that's a solid trilogy. I know I can knock out.
So you've got a lot of irons in the fire.
Yeah. And then I've got another book I started playing with because I had this weird idea come into my head about something I've never written. And yeah, that's coming along too.
Well, I want to thank you, Alex, for being on the show with me. Hopefully some people will pick up your books, especially the Terran books, because they're so good.
I mean, how can you not? Look at that.
I know. It's so that's it for this week's episode. Thank you, Alex, for being here. My name is Fred Hughes. The name of the show is The Next Chapter. We'll see you next week.